Welcome back. We are now at F in part of our question 4-1, question 3. We need to convert 3.25 US pints into liters, and then that same 3.25 US pints into milliliters, rounding off to one decimal place where necessary. Quite a few ways we can go with this. Let's look at the first one. Let's multiply the US pint by the equivalent of how many liters there are in a US pint. And there are decimal 454 liters in a US pint. So let's multiply 3.25 times decimal 454, and we get 1.4755. That's how many liters there are in a US pint. Now, if we want to start taking that to the one decimal place, of course, we look at the number immediately following the decimal, which is a 4, and that's followed by a 7, which allows it to round to 1.55. So that's how we get to where we want to go to for the liters. Let's now convert that same amount into milliliters. And again, we can go a couple of different ways. What we're doing here in the first example is taking the amount of liters and converting that into milliliters. And since there are 1,000 milliliters in a liter, we are going to multiply the unrounded answer of 1.4755 and multiply that by 1,000, and we get 1,475.5 milliliters, and we're happy with that one. Now, we also could have multiplied the amount of US pints by the amount of milliliters, and that would have given us the milliliter answer immediately. Or we could take the amount of US pints and multiply it by 16, and that would have given us the amount of ounces in 3.25 US pints. And then we multiply the ounces by the amount of milliliters in an ounce, which is 28.4. And you can see we get to a slightly different answer. We have 1,476.8 as opposed to what we did up here, which gave us 1,475.5. So we have the difference of 1.3 milliliters. Now, I think the argument could be made that the difference of milliliters when we're talking about over 1,400 milliliters wouldn't probably change the outcome of this recipe. But it is important to know that both 1475.5 and 1476.8 are absolutely correct answers. However, if you don't show the logic you use to get this answer, which is essentially this logic, or if you don't show the logic you use to get this answer, you're not going to get any marks at all, because you may have been using this and for some reason ended up with that answer, and that's incorrect. So just showing a correct answer will not get you the points you deserve. You should always show the logic when you are writing your tests and or assignments. Moving on to the next question. We're going to convert 4 pounds 4 ounces into kilograms, and then convert that 4 pounds 4 ounces into grams. I think the first thing we should do is convert the 4 pounds 4 ounces into its decimal equivalent. It just makes it much easier to work. And if you remember, 4 ounces is 4 out of 16 ounces, so that's 4 over 16, which when divided gives you decimal 25. But at some point you will start to remember that 4 ounces is a quarter of a pound, and the decimal equivalent to a quarter is decimal 25. So now we have 4.25 pounds, and we're going to divide that by the amount of pounds there is in a kilogram, which is 2.2. And when we do that, 4.25 divided by 2.2, we end up with 1.9318 kilograms. That's how many kilograms there are in 4.25 pounds. Rounding that off to one decimal place, we will be left with 1.9 kilograms. Now we need to convert that into the amount of grams. So whether you use a formula to figure out how many grams there are in 4.25 pounds, or how many grams there are in 1.9318 kilograms, we're going to get to the same place. Here we are going from kilograms to grams. We multiply the amount of kilograms by 1,000, the amount of grams in a kilogram, and we get 1,931.8. That's rounded to one decimal place. We're good. Or We could have taken our 4¼ pounds and multiplied it by the amount of grams in a pound, which is 454. So we take the amount of pounds we have, 4.25, and multiply it by the amount of grams in a pound, 454, and we get a final answer of 1,929.5. Again, you see a slight difference in the final answer depending on which relationship you use to do your conversion. Once again, both of these answers are correct as long as you've shown your logic to clearly indicate how you got to that place. Now, just to make it even more complicated, we could break it down and figure out how many grams there are in 4 pounds and how many grams there are in 4 ounces and add those two together. And again, you can see that the logic used is we multiply the amount of pounds, 4, by the amount of grams in a pound, 454. And then we took the amount of ounces, also 4 ounces, times 28.4 grams in an ounce, and added our two totals together to get 1,929.6. So here's 3 ways of converting this one, and we get 3 slightly different answers. Please remember, show your logic. Our next question, we need to go from 7 pounds and 10 ounces to kilograms, and then again, that same 7 pounds, 10 ounces into grams. It's starting to become very familiar here. Let's divide the amount of pounds we have by the amount of pounds in a kilogram. And if you hadn't noticed, we did convert 7 pounds, 10 ounces to its decimal equivalent by dividing the 10 ounces by 16, which gives us 0.625. So 7.625 pounds divided by 2.2, the amount of pounds in a kilogram, gives us 3.465904. That's the amount of kilograms there are in 7 pounds, 10 ounces. Need to round this off to 2 decimal places, so you get 3.47 kilograms. Now we have to take that same 7 pounds, 10 ounces, or 7.625 pounds, and convert that to grams. Here's one way of doing it. Going at it, pardon me. We take the amount of kilograms, the unrounded amount of kilograms, and multiply it by the amount of grams in a kilogram, which in this case is 1,000, and we get 3,465.909. And when you round that off to 2 decimal places, you get 3,465.91. Or again, as we did in the other answer, the other question, we can take the amount of pounds, 7.625, multiply it by the amount of grams in a pound, 454, and we get a rounded answer of 3,461.75. Or once again, figure out how many grams there are in a pound, 7 times 454, the amount of grams in 10 ounces, 10 times 28.4, and when you add all that up, you get 3,465. So again, another clear example of having more than one way of doing your conversions, but make sure you show your logic because there is more than one correct answer. You must show us how you get the answer to get full marks. The next question, we're going to go from 3,897 grams to pounds and ounces. Notice there is no equal sign between the two units, pounds and ounces. So we want to take this entire amount of grams and figure out what it equals in pounds and ounces. Let's start off by doing what is the first step. Let's figure out how many grams there are in a pound. And that relationship is 454. So if 454 grams equals 1 pound, let's see how many times 454 goes into the amount of grams we're looking at, which in this question is 3,897. So 3,897 divided by 454 gives us 8.5837004 pounds. So now what we have to do is take that decimal equivalent or that decimal amount of pounds and convert it into pounds and ounces. We're starting to repeat what we've done at the start of this lesson. If we have 8 whole pounds in this decimal amount, we are going to have 8 whole pounds and its equivalent in pounds and ounces. So the 8 is the same for pounds. Now all we have to do is deal with the decimal 5837004 pounds and remember our relationship, which is 16 ounces to a pound. So we take our decimal number, we multiply it by 16, the amount of ounces in a pound, and we end up with 9.339264 ounces. Now they want this rounded to the nearest ounce, so anything to the right of the decimal is a part of an ounce. So 9 full ounces, the first decimal is a 3. That's not high enough to change anything. So when you finally round this off, you get an answer of 9 pounds, or sorry, 8 pounds and 9 ounces. Remember, rounding is worth 1/3 of your mark in this entire course. Let's go from 7,800 grams into pounds and ounces. We are going to multiply the amount of grams, or sorry, we're going to divide the amount of grams, 7,800, by 454, the amount of grams in a pound. We have 17 whole pounds plus decimal 180616 parts of a pound. The no-brainer, I have 17 whole pounds, that's not going to change. But I will now take the decimal 180616 and multiply it by 16, the amount of ounces in a pound, and I end up with 2.889856 ounces. If I need to round this off to the nearest ounce, I look at the decimal, the first decimal place after the 2 in the ounces area. That's an 8. That's more than enough to change things. So my final answer is going to end up being 17 pounds and 3 ounces. So rounding, super, super important. Knowing the relationships between the metric and the US system, super, super important. Yes, you will get the table and the charts and the conversion page for the test, but if you don't practice using that page on your own, it's going to cause you a lot of frustration. So the secret hasn't changed since the start of the semester. Practice, practice, practice.